Right, hello viewers, welcome back to Just Ride Bikes and a very happy new year to you all. I hope the year has started well, even though we're just a few days into it. And you find me in my living room. It's too cold in the garage right now. It's absolutely freezing cold out there, so I've got a dog here to keep me warm. So over the last few days, I've been diving into YouTube analytics to see how the channel has done well, what content has done well and not done well. And what I've done is compile a list of your favourite bike reviews, the most viewed bike reviews, and the least viewed bike reviews, one you didn't love so much as well. And these two lists make for some interesting conclusions in terms of what content, what bike reviews you want to see, and which ones I need to focus on and help form my editorial direction this year. And do let me know what you think of these lists and what bikes you want to see or don't really care about by dropping a comment down below. So it's been another year of YouTube and just over 3 years now doing YouTube full time, which is still crazy. And last year was a good year in terms of views and in terms of adventures, trips, bike launches and riding some amazing bikes and meeting some amazing people and lots of viewers I met in real life as well, which is always very nice to do at various events around the world. And the most viewed video isn't actually a bike review at all. It's actually a video on how to change and replace an inner tube, which I filmed with Jim, the bike guy, 3 years ago. That's still my #1 video. So probably need to do more content like that. And then below that is a review of 10 inexpensive products and then a roundup of 10 best endurance bikes and then bike reviews. Okay, let's start with the most viewed bike reviews. And I'll put the list on screen here so you can see for yourself. But in at #1, by quite some margin as well, was the Trek Madone SLR. Launched early last year. I rode the bike out in Spain for 2 or 3 days. And this is sort of Gen 2 of their ISOFlow edition with the hole in the seat tube, very dramatic, very wild looking bike. And while that shocked when it first launched 3 years ago, this new version wasn't as shocking, but they merged the Madone with the Emonda into one platform, both aero and not very lightweight, but lightweight intentions. The same, they specialised with the Tarmac SL8. And I'm surprised the bike review did so well because I didn't realise the Madone was so popular. But there you go, it is clearly a popular bike with loads of you because the numbers show it's a popular bike. But it does feel to me, since the ISOFlow edition, it's become a Marmite bike. You either love how it looks or you sort of don't love it. But I do love the way it rides. It's fast, great steering, geometry, and amazing comfort as well. Definitely one of the smoother bikes out there. And it feels fast too, thanks to the crazy narrow handlebars, which are super skinny around the top section. So a bike that feels fast and is fast as well. So that's #1 of all the reviews on the channel in the past 12 months. So while the Trek definitely surprised me, what didn't surprise me was how well the Giant TCR Advanced SL did. This was launched back in March. I went out to Taiwan to ride the bike. Amazing experience out there, seeing the factory and where they make the frames with my own eyes. And the TCR and the Defy as well, which I'll come to in a minute, has been a very popular bike for me here on the channel in terms of the views and engagement with the cycling community, because the Giant, although not the sexiest, most premium desirable bikes out there, they do make fantastic bikes and they make the bikes themselves, own their own factory, and the build quality, design, the ride quality, always fantastic. Just the sort of marketing appeal isn't quite where other brands are. So Giant TCR Advanced SL, second best review on the channel. And hopefully I can ride the TCR Advanced Pro, the mid-range version, in the next few weeks and see how that rides on familiar roads. So yeah, Giant TCR didn't surprise me at all. And then in the #3 is a shootout between the Giant Defy, the Specialized Roubaix and the Canyon Endurance. 3 very popular endurance bikes. And endurance bikes generally have been a very popular category of bike review here on the channel. The sort of bike I like riding and the sort of bike I know more people should be riding for the comfort and the more relaxed geometry. If you're not racing, do you need a race bike? Anyway, we'll leave that for another day. So that was a new style of content. Most of my bike reviews are standalone, in-depth bike reviews. This was an attempt to do a group test like in a magazine, and it did really well. So maybe I should do more of those next year, or this year I mean, 2025, I remember that. And then #4, again, not a surprise, the Giant Defy, updated last year with a new geometry, bigger tyre clearance and some other improvements, internal routing as well. So that did really well. I did 2 or 3 videos on that, and I rode the top end spec, the mid-range spec, and the entry level. And I rode the entry level model with 105 Di2 in a Fred Witten as well, proving a heavy bike is no barrier to doing a very hilly sportive at all. And then rounding out the top 5, again, no surprise, a Specialized Tarmac SL8 launched at the end of 23. I reviewed it sort of early 24. And it's a review that had done really well in terms of numbers and engagement. And yeah, no surprise really. It's a fantastic race bike. One of the lightest race bikes. That's also aero. Looks great. The only downside really is the Specialized tax you pay, because they aren't always the best value compared to other brands like Giant out there. So yeah, that's top 5. Trek, Giant, Specialized. No surprises. And then the bottom half of this top 5 is very interesting as well, because we have some new names in there. First, we have the Van Rysel RCR, Decathlon's new premium race bike. Had a lot of hype. They're now sponsoring a World Tour team, and lots of people want to ride the bike and own the bike because it does seem to offer a lot of performance, kind of Tarmac SL8 performance, but at a low price point. And that was the mid-range model with SRAM Rival Access, costing like £4,000 or £4,500. I'm currently editing my review of the Pro with Dura-Ace, which is the same bike but fancier carbon fibre and fancier parts. It does ride quite differently as well, so that review coming very soon. And then next up, no surprise really, the new Canyon Air Road, the latest in a long line of Canyon Air Roads. Yeah, very fast bike, good value for money. I did a comparison between the top end and the entry level, which is really interesting because it really highlights how small a difference there is between the most expensive and the least expensive. But they're still both amazing bikes, whatever your budget is. And then we get to some interesting bikes, because in at number 8 was the Seeker Spear, and this was simply an unboxing and build video. So aiming to be as aero and as fast as a Tarmac SL8 from Specialized, but costing half the money. And I've been riding it for the last 6 weeks, and my review is coming very, very soon. So very interesting to see that in my top 10. It only went out late November, early November was it? And it wasn't like a full ride, but a lot of interest in that. So that kind of didn't surprise me really, but good to see the numbers on that doing really well. And then a Specialized Crux. Again, this wasn't a full review, but an update on the one I own, now with a UDH dropout. Again, a lot of interest in that bike. The Crux has been one of my favorite bikes of the last few years. I own one. Such a versatile bike, gravel, bike packing, cross racing, road riding. It doesn't do everything. There are limitations, but it does a lot very well. And then another surprise was to see a Windspace in at number 10, the SLC3, their lightweight climbing bike. So yeah, I haven't tested many Chinese bikes on the channel. I haven't deliberately stayed away from them, but I've been focused on more familiar brands, and shows how the rise of Chinese developed and manufactured bikes is something we all have to take seriously. Yes, most bikes, carbon bikes anyway, are made in Asia, but they're often designed by a European or American-based company, Morgan Hill or Italy or UK, and then manufactured by a partner in Asia, Taiwan or China. But these are brands operating entirely out of China, designing, engineering, and manufacturing as well. And then your least favorite bike reviews, the bike reviews that didn't get much traffic. They got good numbers, but nothing like the top 10 at all. Now, when I review bikes here on Just Ride Bikes, there's lots of factors involved. For me, I'm trying to review bikes that I know are popular with you watching at home. You know, there are certain bikes that are popular, and it makes sense for me to review. But I can't just review Specialized and Trek all day long. I want to put the spotlight on smaller brands, the likes of Mason, Fairlight, Bridge, 51 spring to mind, because often these smaller brands are doing stuff the mainstream brands aren't doing, and are more exciting and more interesting. But sadly, the numbers show that you guys just aren't as interested as me, as I would like you to be, in those reviews of lesser known brands. So yeah, a bit of a shame, but there we are. So the list of the worst performing bike reviews, I'll put it up here again for you. Firstly, Cervelo Espero. I guess because it's not the most exciting update, it's very similar to the old one launched 4 years ago. Yeah, yeah, I don't really know why it's not done better really. It's a fantastic bike. It does what you want for a gravel race bike. It's fast, it's good on the road with road tyres, it's good off-road, got lots of nice details, the geometry works really well. The value of money, probably not the best in the world, but not terrible. It's a pretty good looking bike as well, but doesn't seem to get people excited. Maybe there are more exciting gravel bikes out there, or maybe Cervelo. Cervelo used to be a real halo premium bike brand, but maybe they're not there anymore. Maybe they're sort of down here somewhere and people don't really have them on their sort of radar when looking for a new bike. So that didn't do very well at all. The next one was the 51 Seeker. So 51 had been making custom carbon frames for 10 years. And then at Sea Otter last year showed the Seeker, their all new all-road bike, whatever you want to call it. Space of 40mm wide tyres, geometry a bit more relaxed on a race bike, but not a full-on endurance bike. And for me, it's a bike that I think taps into the sort of bike that us guys want to ride. Comfort, low weight, good performance, great handling. It's a very usable, very easy bike to live with on a daily basis if you're not racing. So that bike review that didn't do so well, but I think it deserved more traffic than it got because the 51 Seeker is a fantastic bike. Maybe the brand clearly isn't that well known, but maybe the bike is ahead of its time in terms of that sort of all-road space, which is still sort of maturing in terms of tyre clearance and good options for wide tyres. And then a bike I'm surprised to see in the bottom 10 and not the top 10 was the Pinarello Dogma F, because the Pinarello has been massively popular for the last 10 years thanks to Team Sky and Ineos Grenadiers, and before that of course as well, but in recent times thanks to Team Sky and all their exploits. But yeah, the new Dogma F didn't seem to light the numbers up at all. Yeah, odd one that, not really sure what to take from that. Maybe the Pinarello star is waning. Next up was a bike a bit like the 51 Seeker that should have done better because it's a sort of bike that more people should be riding, was the MV Frey. MV's new endurance all-road bike, space with 40mm wide tyres, space for wide tyres, down tube storage, mounts for bags, a really versatile bike. I rode a Tour of Flanders in it with a 36mm wide tyre, peachy as it goes on the cobbles, a real nice bike, looks amazing as well. Yeah, quite pricey though, not a cheap bike at all, but yeah, again, like the 51 Seeker bike review that I thought would have done better, but didn't. BMC are a bit like Pinarello in that I would expect them to do better than they actually do. I know BMC as a business have been having troubles, but the Road Machine has always been a really popular bike, one of my personal favourites, and the new Road Machine R, their radical Red Bull designed aero race bike. But the review only went up late last year, so maybe it's not had enough time to do well, but in the first 24 hours, the first 7 days, didn't do amazingly well. Maybe it's that brand appeal, it just isn't there anymore for BMC. A brand also struggling to ignite the leaderboard was a Ridley Astra RS. Ridley, again, a brand that had been really strong in the past, but maybe not as strong in terms of appeal and desirability as it had been. And the Astra RS was a good gravel race bike, a better version of the Canyon Grail in a way, with big tyre clearance and great geometry, and it looks fast, it is fast, so a really nice bike. But the value for money on that bike wasn't amazing, which really let down a bit, so that's a shame. But a bike with great value for money, which didn't do that well, was a Propane Terrell CF. Again, I put it down to being a bike brand that's not that well heard of outside of the mountain bike space, because Propane are a German direct sales mountain bike company, but this was their first drop bar gravel bike, and the bike, to use the cliche, ticks all the boxes. Tyre clearance, geometry, progressive, down tube storage, mounts of bike packing, fender mounts as well. Big tyres are standard. You can fit a suspension fork, and it's good value for money. It doesn't cost a fortune. It's a bike that would give the Giant Revolt a run for its money any day of the week. So really good bike. But yeah, the numbers didn't do so well on that one. And then two bikes that didn't do very well at all, but should have done better because they offer amazing value for money and low prices, were the Focus Atlas and the Bourbon Adventure. Two gravel bikes that don't cost a fortune, ride really well, lots of cool details. And I find this odd because people tell me how expensive bikes are and that bikes are too expensive and I only review expensive bikes. That's clearly not true because I do review inexpensive bikes. But when I review inexpensive bikes, the people complaining about expensive bikes don't watch reviews of inexpensive bikes. So maybe the takeaway there, people just like moaning. So yeah, shame not to see the Focus and Boardman doing better because they are two cracking bikes. I'll put links to all the reviews down below if you want to watch them, if you missed them, which you might have done. So those are the best and not the worst, the least best bike reviews on the channel in the past 12 months. So there we go, an interesting look back at the best and not so best reviews of the last year. And I've got some loads of bike reviews lined up this year already, of course. Right off the bat, I have a Van Rysel RCR Pro, my first ride on the Seeker Spear coming very soon. And just arrived is an Orbea Orca, a Parley gravel bike and a J Laverick gravel bike. There's a Cube Aero bike as well, and hopefully the Trek Madone SL and the Giant Teaser Advanced Pro and the new Giant Revolt with internal routing as well. So quite a few bikes to keep me busy over the next few weeks and months, but do let me know what bikes and brands and price points you want to see more of on the channel, and I'll do my best as always to cover them as best I can. I'm one person, I can't review all the bikes. I try and review as many bikes as I can, but bikes that are interesting to me and interesting to you are my focus for the channel in 2025. Anyway, the dog needs feeding. I'll see you again very soon. Thank you so much for watching.